Hi guys, it's Tony here from Balance Tech 1 Performance Training Centre here in a very wet Willamavin, Victoria, as you can see, and I am attempting to voice over this video because the live take was pretty much drowned out by wind. This is Annie. She's rising 5, I believe. She arrived at the farm yesterday. Her history is that she was started for 6 weeks and then has not had much done with her, and she now is our newest little horse, a cute little thing that we hope we can turn into a nice riding horse for my niece and nephew and our daughter when she's ready. And Annie has a classic thing she does, which is when you lead her, she wants to run over you with her shoulder, to the point that even though she's quite a little horse, the reason that she wasn't sold to the people who looked at her before we did is because they found her intimidating. And I understand that. There you can see she's got a bit of fire about her, so you can't blame people for feeling intimidated by a horse that's running its shoulder into you and has that much energy, no matter how little and cute she is. And cute she definitely is. So I wanted to take this opportunity to video Annie every time I interact with her and talk about some common things that we all face at one time or another with various horses. And with Annie, she is inclined to sort of bash her around with her shoulder a little bit. I haven't actually handled this horse at all at this stage. I've been in that paddock with her and just had a bit of a pat and whatnot yesterday when she arrived, but Anne did all the handling of her yesterday. So here's my first time putting a halter on her, and the condition of the ground at that gate is so poor and dangerous that I pretty much wanted to just get her to move away from the gate with a little bit of energy and see how she responded to that, and then get a halter on and get her out of there as quickly as possible, because it was too dangerous in there. You'll see here I ended up losing my boot in the mud, so that's not exactly a safe work environment, and not really an environment to set yourself up or the horse up for success in. So it was pretty much, I just wanted to hop in and grab that halter on her and work with what presented as she came out of the yard. So I had no intention of doing anything with her other than moving her to the paddock that is to the left of the laneway, you can see here in the video, now that she's had a day or so to settle in. But yeah, it was pretty much, I wanted to put a holder on her and work on what I believe is the first step of harmony with the horse, and that's not leading or anything, but standing still together. And I should say the first step, once we've got them caught, there's so many, you could write volumes and volumes on the subtleties and things at play available in catching a horse. There you can see I lost my boot. So yeah, I'm skipping ahead. I'm breaking a bunch of rules here. I just want to get the halter on her without too much hijinks and drama. So as long as she's happy to stand there, I was happy to sort of move her head where I needed it to be. I'm in a bit of a dangerous position there. If she'd run forward, I'd be crushed against the fence. I'm well aware of that. And it was an educated risk there based on how she moved away from that energy before, where I moved her away from the gate before I went in. My cat here is helping me edit the video. Hi, Betty. All right, so Annie's pretty happy there. She's she's not tearing around. She's not really crashing over the top of me. She obviously knows we're about to go out the gate. The gate opens back towards Annie, and I had planned on doing a little bit of work to get her away from the gate there. but it also will open out just enough to get us through. And with her stickiness in the feet there, I thought we could get ourselves in a bit of drama if I did open the gate inwards. So also, though, I got some good feedback from that little exercise there. She reared up a little bit. I think, to be honest, it's got more to do with the fact that her back feet were stuck in the mud more than anything. It was easier for her to lift her front feet than move her back feet out. So she hasn't run over the top of me here, which is something I kind of expected her to do. And she's happy to just kind of stand there. But you can see here she's more interested in the fly mask than me, but she's not so buzzed out that she can't pay attention to me either. So I've just asked her to move towards me here, and she hasn't really responded. So this is my first interaction with the horse, and I want her to know that I'll ask her simple questions that there are simple answers to, and she's safe. She's not going to be overwhelmed or bombarded. Or anything else to make her opinion of being with me one where it just sucks. So we're just working on standing still here. So I haven't asked her to move any since I took the slack out of the lead rope, and all I wanted to do then was to have a look at me. So there she was moving around, her bum pointed towards me. She's going to do it again now, and watch when I stop asking her to move her bum away from me. It's as soon as her braciness against my ask becomes a little softer. And at times here I'll go passive, like there I'm pretty passive, even just for a quarter of a second at a time before I need to be busy again. And the idea of that is, at the start when she gets things right, she'll have milliseconds of, well, I guess peace from me, no input from me. And as she starts to work out, hey, hang on, I'll have input here. And when I start doing this same thing or feeling this same way, that the input goes away. And watch here the moments of softness that she has where she's not frantic and running around and bashing her shoulder into me. They slowly get longer and longer. And that's what this exercise I'm doing here is all about. There's only 3 wrong answers. It is to drag the lead rope out of my hand, run over the top of me, or like she just did there, throw her bum towards me. And you could see she had a bit of trouble moving away from the energy. She was a bit more inclined to kick out at it. So I've got to be realistic here and think that if I let things go too much, she is likely to throw a leg towards me. So I'm not getting involved in her drama here. She's feeling a little insecure, a little anxious, and having a bit of a paw. If I tried to stop her from doing that, we become invested in their worry with them and give it merit. There, she's crashed a shoulder into me enough to move me around, but I felt like it was out of insecurity. Later on in this clip, you'll see she moves her shoulder into me where she's definitely trying to push me around once she realises that she doesn't feel so good, but her answer of throwing her bum towards me no longer works. So watch for the difference there. If you just talk about physically what we're looking for, it would sound a lot like hypocrisy, but if you can think about how she's feeling when she does the same, the different ways she's feeling when she does the same physical thing, then we're starting to get into the territory where the horse can communicate more effectively and with more refinement with the horse. So I think here what I was saying was I'm going to let all the behaviour slide where I'm not feeling threatened by her or in a position to be hurt. And I judge that to be any time that her bum's not pointing at me. She's never been handled by me before. I don't know what her handling history is. So the the role here is that all I need for her to do, or all she needs to do, is stand still and relax. She doesn't need to sit in my lap. She doesn't need to run over the top of me. She doesn't need to worry or fret. She can just stand still and be soft and calm. And when she is, everything's good. And that's the first sort of moment of prolonged softness and calmness we get. And it was only a few seconds. What can happen is the horses realise they're vulnerable when they're like this, and then they can start acting a little bit more defensive than they were, especially horses where these little nuances haven't necessarily been seen and understood. And when they do make themselves vulnerable, they end up maybe with a handler who unwittingly takes advantage of that vulnerability and makes the horse regret offering it. So I want the horse, every time it offers vulnerability, I want it to enjoy that and make sure it doesn't regret it, so that the horse can go, hey, I was all defensive, and then when I dropped my defences, nothing wrong happened. Maybe I don't need to be defensive. She got a little fright there. You can see I jump because I still don't have a good vibe from her. The energy coming off her is still not one of, calm, cool and collected relaxation. She's likely to jump clean over the top of me if I'm in the way of where she thinks she needs to be to feel safe. So again, it's pretty simple. The three rules are: you can't drag the lead rope out of my hand, you can't push over me, and you can't point your bum towards me. So I let the shoulder go there, and you could see there she sort of pointed her bum towards me a little bit. So I'll address that bum a bit. But again, I don't want to complicate things. The main thing I want to focus on is you can walk around and move around all you need to. No one's going to trap you. But the moment that bum points towards me, I'm just going to ask you to push it away. And as soon as you do, I'm going to leave you alone. What's nice about this little horse is how quickly she responded. So she's gone from being defensive enough to want to point her bum at me, ready to, oh, look at that, ready to possibly kick me. And then when I take that option away from her and she's made vulnerable, she already here has learned that she doesn't need to do that, and she can just relax. Now, she's got a more thoughtful look on her face here. She's gone from sort of running around, not really thinking about much, just reacting to everything, and oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, to just simply by me saying, okay, just don't. You can walk around. Don't point your bum at me. If you do, I'm going to move it away. And as soon as you move away, that's all I need. And it's that moment of quiet after you ask her something where they go, oh, hang on, this is. I think I get it here. This is a nice place for me to be. I don't need to do all that other stuff. It doesn't solve any of my problems, but dropping my defences does. And it's almost like mental yoga where, their thoughts come back inside, physically inside their body. They're not thinking about over here or over there or any sort of thing. They can just stand still and relax without needing to be anywhere. And if that's what we're doing, if we're just standing still and relaxed, well, they're the first moments of harmony that we have with a horse. Why this is important is a safe horse is a horse who can see things and think about them, not just ignore them until it can't ignore them anymore. If the horse is observing things, acknowledging them, thinking about them, they're much less inclined to do random type stuff. So I get in a bit of a bad position here because the fence is in the way, and she felt a bit stuck going through that squeeze point and kicked the leg up. And as soon as she did yield the hind and stop being so defensive with it, you see she can drop her defensiveness and then relax, soften the neck. And that I assume that feels better to them. I don't think any animal likes conflict, us included. So if we can find the moments where there's no conflict, surely it's got to feel better than when, even if we're the aggressor. So another thing that I'm looking for with this little mare is when she is walking around me, you can see her shoulder obviously is pretty much pushing me around in this video. I'm breaking all the rules, but her nose is turned out, and her cheek is the closest part of her head to me, and that's a defensive posture. See there, her cheek's closer to me than the nose. So I'm trying to use the lead rope to ask her nose around by taking the slack out of the lead rope, and it's very easy for a horse to lean into that pressure, especially while they get their shoulder planted in the ground and they're not really moving their bum away. So by asking her to move her bum away, not only are we addressing that, hey, please don't point your weapon at me, biomechanically, it puts her body in a position where she cannot walk around with her shoulder jammed in the ground or her cheek close to me and the nose away. So there, how she just looked at me, that's the response I'm looking for when I take the slack out of the lead rope. So we'll pick it up. If it doesn't happen, she gets a bit defensive, walks and points her bum at me. I ask her bum away, and biomechanically she can't help but soften to that rein. There I'm doing what we're looking for is for that defensive behaviour. We do ask her to move her bum away, go passive when she goes passive, and we're waiting now in this instance while she's standing still for a letdown. That's the best opportunity. She's not going to give us one. She's still a little bit too defensive. Now I'm going to do a video series on this horse of every time I handle her, because I think she displays a lot of typical symptoms of horses that are dangerous to either lead or potentially ride. And a lot of ridden horses don't lead well. And oh, look at her wanting to connect. This is nice. She's dropped all that defensive behaviour now, and she's really sort of starting to pay confident attention to me because she feels safe, I guess. So this horse has been ridden, and we could ride her. We found a small enough and competent enough jockey. But all this behaviour that we're seeing now would be in her, and it could be the case, that she'd respond to lunging every day for a week and then chucking the saddle on. I'm not saying that this is the only way to fix it, but this is a good way to end up with a lot of benefits. She'll be safe to stand to stand with, because her mind's not so manic. She'll make better decisions if she gets a fright, and she'll have more room in her thoughts for us. So I'm going to lead her here and hoping that she'd show how she was leading with, smashing her shoulder and pushing the person around. But already that behaviour's gone, and I think a large portion of it is by helping her not make choices to be defensive and then showing her that she didn't need to be anyway. So here she stopped. So rather than drag her down the laneway, which I could quite easily do, I'm just going to stop with her. She took the slack out of the lead rope by stopping, so I'm just going to keep the slack out of it until she softens. And what I'm saying here is that she sees that as a bit of a problem. You can see by her body language that me just putting gentle pressure on that lead rope is causing her some form of problem, and I want her to find a solution to that problem. So it's very important for me that every time she does something that resembles being a little bit less stuck, even if her feet haven't moved, I need to reward. And I say there, I missed that opportunity to release. I miss another one too where her foot moves here. I was too busy jibber-jabbering to give her the release. But, if we're paying attention most of the time, the horse will give us a good bit of grace there, and we won't confuse them too much. So I should have released there. Here, I think by not getting impatient and dragging her and saying, come on, you're nearly 5 now, you can lead. I'm giving her time to think this through. I get the impression that she's thinking in the, do I need to escalate my defensiveness here but I feel like she's just sitting on the edge of, hang on, do I need to do more about this, or am I still safe enough to think about it? And everything we do, we want the horse to feel safe enough to make a decision that it's thought about, rather than a reaction. Now, once she does give me a slight move forward, we don't just keep walking. Walking in this case would be an advanced manoeuvre. We just want to nurture her willingness to think forward when I ask her forward. So here I've lost her attention and she's starting to get fidgety and point that bum towards me. It's the fidgetiness and that, insecurity that I don't like, because the most dangerous horses and people, for that matter, are insecure ones they're likely to be the ones who lash out randomly, or the horse who's feeling a little insecure has a massive overreaction to something. So while she's just starting to move towards that insecurity and irrational type behaviour, before she's too far into it, I want to go, okay, let's go back. You're pointing your bum at me. It's the simple rule. The simple rule is you can't point your bum at me. And the next two rules are you can't pull the lead rope out of my hand or run over the top of me. So you can see how nicely she's leading here now. She's looking pretty good where she's confident, and right there she starts crowding me. So is it crowding? Is it her pushing me around? I don't think so. I just think she started to feel really vulnerable and started to feel defensive. And a lot with this horse, when she's putting the shoulder in your ear, she's almost sitting in your lap looking for a bit of confidence. So again, we'll just do the simple rule. You can't point your bum at me. And that's it. That's the only thing she can't really do. The rest of the time, I don't care what she does. And we want to make the horse be able to feel like a winner and feel like it's getting somewhere, and really nurture that culture of effort by rewarding these tiny little changes and not asking for anything after that. So her pointing her bum towards me is a pretty big red flag. So if we can get her to think about not doing that, well, we need to say, yes, good girl, well done. So here I've got enough control of the hind quarter, and when I say that, she's able to respond to my energy in a non-defensive way well enough that I've decided to start using that train of thought for the shoulders. So there she went to walk past me a few seconds ago, and you'll notice I just swung that rope out the other side of me just so that she didn't walk past me, because she can't point her bum at me without walking past me. So we're starting to deal with this problem before it arises, or a little sooner than I was, by working on the bum. Don't care if she eats. She's not doing anything wrong. She's not pulling the lead rope out of my hand. She's not crashing over the top of me, and she's not kicking me. So we want to spend less time addressing a problem and more time just saying, yep, everything's cool here. And I think what I'm saying here is that if you want to change a horse's behaviour 100%, the first 1% of change is the hardest for the horse to make. It's got the most value because it's got to think a whole different way. And once we get it thinking a different way, look how cute she is. And her body language there is fine. Then straight away shouldering me, so that you've got to deal with them in the moment. But here, nice and easy. Her footfalls were nice and soft. She was able to respond to my rein aid and just connect up with me without getting silly like she had before. She found the answer really quickly and was able to stand in her vulnerability a lot longer. And we lose a little bit of that here, but that doesn't matter. So yeah, the first 1% of change, they got to change the way they think completely. The remaining 99% of change is just building on that, or improvement is just building on that one little change. So you really, at the start there, they've just got to get one tiny little bit better, and they can still be rotten, they can still be horrible, but you really want to find a way to reward that first tiny little bit of change of thought and really do nothing for quite a long time after that, because It needs to be a very clear, very blatant lesson where there's no room for confusion. It's just, I point my bum at him, he uses energy to make me not point my bum at me. I fight, the energy stays. I don't fight, everything becomes okay, and I'm safe. It's a pretty simple lesson, and then we can, you know, we don't ever want that horse to get confused about that early lesson. And we don't want to complicate things too much too soon. So here I'm saying about I'm not being a victim here. She's given me some bad behaviours, but they're not the ones I want to address just yet. So, and then she just hit me in a place that wasn't very comfortable. But I would think there by doing too much about this, I'd be investing value into her busyness, so I give her behaviour some form of merit, and I might be taken away from the very simple. Look how easily she moved her bum over there. So there, she's not really crossing her hind legs over. She's walking backwards, so that's a defensive brace behaviour. Then I chose to move the shoulder over, and you can see how much trouble she's having moving off of that there, moving off of the energy. So she's pretty good at moving the bum away. Now we're going to, that's something that's available to us and we can go back to that she understands pretty easy. But there, I didn't see it so much, but I felt it at the time. I remember feeling that, yeah, she moved her bum away okay, but then she almost shaped up to me with her shoulder. So I felt, okay, well, now that we've got moving away from energy sorted out at the back, let's take that lesson to the shoulder. And you kind of want to address one thing at a time. But when they're going all right for you, so say in this case her pointing her bum at me and her pointing her shoulder, once they're going okay or one of them's okay, you can address whichever one is worse. So while she's bracing that shoulder into me, and that time she did it with an energy that felt like she was being, offensive. Whereas when the shoulder was running into me previous to this, it's felt like just safety blanket stuff. And you can see here she's a bit more inclined to kick. She's bit more inclined to fight and not look for that nice soft answer. So there we had a quarter of a second where she didn't really yield her hind end and cross her hind feet over, but she moved it away. That was good enough. And I pretty much went passive for maybe a quarter of a second, but then she went to run past me and where she would be in a position where she's physically pointing her bum at me. So I had to start doing something about it again. So it's that quarter of a second of doing nothing that is the thing we want them to cotton onto. So you got to. That's where timing's important, I suppose. When they're doing something unsavoury, you want your energy, and as soon as they have that change of thought, you want to remove your energy. But as soon as they're going good, and then a negative energy comes from them that you want to address, you want to start doing something about it as they're doing it. So it's very easy for the horse to join the dots. But the most important thing is going passive when the horse is not being, defensive, offensive, aggressive, whatever you want to call it. You're really looking for every opportunity to leave the horse alone, which is why I like this video here. That all we need to do is at the start is ignore everything except for the bum pointing towards us. We can just focus on one thing at a time. What I like about this little horse is when she does drop her defences, she doesn't just shut down or go absent or anything. She gets nice and soft and really like she's sort of, I'm going to call it connection, but she becomes brave and curious and engaged. So there she went to move over me with the wrong energy. So I asked her shoulder to move away because it was the part that I felt she was using against me. She was able to stop, even though it was a defensive posture while she was stopped. I didn't have to do anything about it. If I did too much about it there, I'd be making it too hard for her to do the right thing. So I'm just jibber jabbering away here, but what I like is that I don't need to have any input on the rein because the horse is not doing anything that needs addressing. So we're just looking really for tiny opportunities to leave her alone. And as she starts to cotton on to what those opportunities are, they'll grow longer and longer. I think here I've probably gotten past her attention span. Not too sure. She's getting a bit of crotchety behaviour, but there for a moment her ears were nice. She's got a nice-ish eye there. When she's walking a circle around me there, she was able to keep her shoulder off of me, so I was really happy with that. That's probably everything I wanted to happen in that work on display there in that little circle. Her hind end was moving away from me. She wasn't doing the circle with her bum sort of pointing towards me. Look there, she did it there for one step too. She's not crashing over me with the shoulder, and if you look, maybe it might be worth rewinding, her nose is closer to me than her cheek. So that's job done there. Look at that nice demeanour on her. And I'm going to put her away here in the paddock. There, she quickly moved off the energy without getting bent out of shape. So a huge improvement from her decision making about the rope at the start. But again, it's my first time handling her. I want her opinion of me to be that he doesn't really ask for much, but he means what he asks for, and I feel pretty good. That I don't get bombarded with questions. I don't get overwhelmed, and I just get reminded pretty clearly what's acceptable and what isn't. And that sounds like pretty harsh language, really, I suppose, but it is the fact. I mean, we've got to ride these horses, so them rubbing us off on trees and bucking and biting, it's not acceptable. But look how nice she is there. She's not running over me. She's not worried about her friends next to her. She's just eating, and she doesn't need to be anywhere else. Neither do I. So we're in harmony there, and I'd like to think that's time for her with me that's not stressful. And there she has a bit of a shake of the neck and a release. But this is beautiful. How she can still check in and connect up. They won't do that if they're feeling really defensive or afraid. Well, not that softly anyway. So there we are. At the start of the session, the aim was just to be able to stand still together, and there I think we've got that going on pretty good. I'd give that an 8.5 out of 10 if I was a judge. She leads with the nose there, not the shoulder, and cheek. That's nice. Her footfalls are soft, and she's worked out that she doesn't have to be super defensive around me. I don't know what I'm doing here. I was getting prepared to move her bum over. Love that head shake, letting go of tension. Got to make quick decisions, I suppose, and they'll get quicker the more confident and familiar we get as we do things more. As I talked about timing before, you've got to read the horse and be ready to do something when you think it's going to happen, but you equally have to be ready not to do it because, again, we don't want to make the horse ever regret dropping its defences because, it might mean another 3 or 5 times that we've got to show them that they didn't have to do it in the first place and change their opinion about these things. That's nice. She had been inclined when I asked her to move with the lead rope to sort of start running around again. Don't know what I was demonstrating there, just that that's how we lead a lot of horses under the chin like that. Can be for safety, that's what it's taught for in Pony Club, but if we get them to be able to think rather than react around us, then they're going to have enough mental capacity and awareness to know where we are, even when they get a fright, and make sure they don't wipe us out in their escape, and doing things like, hey, you can't throw your bum at me. It gets them thinking, well, I can't throw my whole body over this person either. So I'm really liking that neck shake. We never did get the let down with her, but a few neck shakes are pretty good. They're usually a sign of letting go of tension, and here we are. Job done.